Hello everyone, I've come back to St Stephen's Church in South Shields at the end of Mile End Road. I did a video here last autumn and I didn't really know anything about the history of the church and what had happened to the graves and so on, so I've done a bit of digging. I've got a bit more extra information and I wanted to come back and do another video from the site. Now the church, the foundation stone was laid back, I think December the 26th, 1844. Now if you can have a look on old pictures, there was an old-fashioned churchyard wall just where these cars are at the edge, and it is a huge square churchyard. There's some aerial pictures from around 1927 which show there was hundreds of headstones in this particular cemetery. As you can see, there isn't any standing. I also had a look, and there's at least 15,000 burials between 1844, or it might have been 1846 when the burials started, up through to the end of the 1940s. Then nowadays I think people are buried at Harton Cemetery. So you can see it's an open space. It's laid out with paths and daffodils. Now I posted a video on South Shields history about where all the headstones went, because there is some which we're going to go around and have a look at in a moment, but I had suspicions that that wasn't the reason why there's only that amount left. Now people said that it was because they were all destroyed during the war. Well, I did have a look and a bomb did drop. I think it was one of the last bombs of the night in the early 1940s when the Luftwaffe attacked the town. And there's a picture, and it showed it was taken by, I think it was one by Amy Flagg or something. And the bomb damage is around this one particular spot. Looking, when you see the old picture, you can go online, you can find it, was around this area. And it mentions in the reports that some graves near it were disturbed. So it was just, according to that, it was just one section of the cemetery was hit, which was down here. And even if you look at that picture where the bomb landed, you can actually see around it loads of headstones still standing. So I don't believe that the reason why 90% of the headstones, 95% of the headstones have gone was down to that particular bomb. Now there's also another picture you can see online from some point in the 1950s when there isn't any headstone standing and it's all neat, looks all newly laid out, and it looks like an open space, a garden, and you can see there's some of the paths are still here now. So my suspicion was that, forget about that Second World War bomb, which was over there. So my suspicion was that, just like at Sunderland Parish Church, Mount Weymouth Parish Church, and at Bishop Weymouth Parish Church, not about 8 miles away over in Sunderland, they were turned into gardens, large open spaces for the local community. Now in 1986 there's a newspaper report which states the council had plans for Westhoe Cemetery, just about 1.5 miles away from here. Big cemetery, municipal one, opened it in 1857. And one of the options they had was to take down all the headstones across the whole cemetery and place them either in a corner around the perimeter fence, because it would, believe this or not, it would make cutting the grass easier. It didn't happen, and Westhoe Cemetery is still there today. But in the newspaper articles it mentions that this was an option like what had happened at St Stephen's graveyard. So that article is actually indicating that had been a plan to clear the graveyard of St. Stephen's and put some headstones in the corner. Now I'm just coming up the edge of the churchyard. This must be the boundary, just because I want to show you where we are. Now what a view that is. There's the Arbea Roman fort, historic spot, and just going to quickly go, just so you can see we're up on the, I think it's up the lower top here, and if we go across here, it's not that far, I'll run so I don't waste too much time on the video. What a view that is. We're actually right next to the River Tyne. There's North Shields across there, the Fish Quay. There's Tynemouth, and in the distance you can see Tynemouth Castle and Abbey. So it's a great spot up here. Obviously there was a lot of maritime influence in a lot of the people who were buried at this particular churchyard, such as pilots on the river, ship owners, fishermen, master mariners, standard mariners, and so on. So all that's left is it's like a little garden of remembrance in the corner, which has the military headstones and a lot of maritime ones for pilots and so on. So I believe this was set up in the corner. Now in the late 80s there was a lot of vandalism at the graveyard and it was a bit of a mess. So a local gentleman who ran, I think he ran the Sea Cadets, got them together and they tidied the particular section up, and then in 1989 there was a rededication service of this spot. So this garden of remembrance at the back had been here for decades. This wasn't some modern thing. So as you can see the size of the churchyard, look, that's all around me, and there's the back of the church. Now in this little particular section there's a few Commonwealth graves headstones. Daffodil, looking lovely, the little display. Might have time to have a look at some of the headstones because I think I've got about 10 minutes left on the video. See, now it's all fenced off. Now if you go online and you look at the photograph from 1927, there are hundreds of headstones in this particular churchyard, right? I'll go through here. Now bearing in mind I think the first burial was about 1846. If it was random that these headstones were the only ones left, then there'd be ones which are weathered, largely broken, and so on, but they're all pretty good decent, and there isn't any of them which are really that like mid 1850s, 60s if I remember. And a lot of these are from particular families. So just as you can imagine, these are not I don't think these are actually random headstones. Because if you look, that's Robert Gudgeon, Northumberland Fusiliers, 4th of March 1919, age 33. So we've got all these heroes. That's a great name, J.H. Churchward. He was on the HMS Island Prince. So these would be men who died and were buried here rather than on foreign lands. So even on there actually tells us they're buried in this churchyard. He was a sapper, W.H. Brown. Oh, there's this great, look at this, 1914, erected in honour of the men of Wellington Street who fought and died in the Great War. All these names. People might recognise some of these if you're from South Shields. Stidulph, that's a good South Shields name. Some really distinct names in here as well. Nessworthy, Causer, Capstick, Mountain, Yut, Tinmouth. So there's men from the Navy and the Army mentioned on here. So there's a few Craman, Batai, Mool. So it's a fitting tribute. More soldiers: Arogel, Elsie, Maxwell, Ridley. Members of the Wales family. Herbert Busby, he died 1922, aged 69 years. There's Bourne, that's a good South Shields name. John Bourne, Tyne pilot. Remember that, Bourne. Thomas Young, Tinmouth, Tyne pilot. Nice epitaph at the bottom. Her end was peace. Could be, is it peace? Oh, end was peaceful or peaceful. I've got my torch on the here. At the bottom it says, "Nothing in my hand I bring, simply to thy cross I cling." See if I can see it with the torch. Her end was perfect, so he bringeth them unto their deserved haven. Kinghorn. Oh, look at that. Lovely memory of David, beloved son of Matthew and Jane T. Young, who was electrocuted on the SS City of Canberra in 1931, just 21 years. Matthew Pearson interred at Erith, I think that's Kent. George Mensforth, Elizabeth Westbury. Also John Barnsbury, the beloved husband of the above, who was lost in the HMS Micknaw about January the 22nd, 1915, aged 52 years. I've not heard of that ship before. So right in the middle of the Great War. It's a great surname. Emptas. But it mentions of Tinmouth, so I think Tinmouth were the family. Of pilot. One that's sadly fallen off. So you can see how these headstones are attached. Like the concrete base that had metal spikes in them, which were you'd place the headstone on top. It's a nice view. You can see in the distance you've got the Arbea Roman fort. So look, there's more members of the Bourne family, and again a pilot. So the son John Young Swinney Bourne lost at sea. Alexander killed at Whitburn Colliery, and Robert, an engineer, lost at sea, and then Thomas Bourne pilot. So obviously family of pilots. Heslop. Another West. So I just wanted to give you an update on that video I did a few months ago. Obviously I don't know, I'm not an expert or anything on South Shields graveyards. If it was Sunderland, I would be able to be 100% and not 100%, 90% sure on a lot of things. Now, the only thing missing that I couldn't find was because the particular South Shields newspaper, most of the second half of the 1950s isn't online, so I couldn't find the article which would mention that what the plans to turn this into whatever they did with all the headstones and stuff for definite. But I just think the size of that graveyard, and there's just these few. Now remember, like ones like this, they would have been here since probably the 1950s when this garden was probably created. So, and most of them are in good nick apart from some of these, but that's the type of ones, the lettering can come off these. So you can imagine when this little section was put together, these would have been in really good condition. As I said, there's nothing that's here from, I'm trying to think what the oldest one I've seen is. I think all of them are from the 1900s. How come randomly there isn't one survived from the 1800s? But what they did at Sunderland Parish Church, they kept a small section of them, but the rest they just binned. So like over 200 years of history was just turned to rubble. And at St. Peter's, which is, Monk Wearmouth's St. Peter's famous church by the River Wear, again they kept some, put them in the corner against the walls, but anything that wasn't perfect or slightly damaged, they just binned. So they like hand-picked the headstones that they wanted to keep in a smaller section. So I'm gonna leave you with one last little tribute, or look at the tribute of these brave men. 1, 2, 3, 4. Must be over 100 odd, 150 possibly names up there. Just I'll let you have a look down there. See if there's anybody you recognise. Right, I'm going to end this video now. I'll just say thank you for anybody who watched it. If you do have any further information, obviously just please comment on it. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, click on the subscribe, and I will see you next time there's a view of the church. So thank you very much for watching.